Good morning on this glorious gift of a day, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Whidbey Island. Whether you are joining us in person or on Zoom, whether this is your first time or your 500th time, we are delighted to have you with us. As Unitarian Universalists, we are defined not by a creed, but by our shared values. The 7 principles that guide us are listed on the back of your order of service. I'm Jane Spalding, your worship leader this morning. Our congregation is currently conducting a search for a new minister. In the meantime, we are blessed with so many wonderful people from the Puget Sound region who serve in our pulpit. Today's service offers you an opportunity for reflection, connection, and the possibility of gaining a new perspective. If this service doesn't resonate with you, we invite you to return next week for something completely different. We are honored to have Reverend Janine Larsen with us this morning. Reverend Larsen brings a unique perspective as a Unitarian Universalist and an ordained Zen priest, blending her experiences from both cultures. Zen Buddhism emphasizes silent meditation as a path to awakening and realization. But equally important is the Sangha, or community of support, which we value in our UU congregations. We are grateful for the community of support that has made this service possible, from our talented pianist Heidi Holting and her trio of accompanying musicians, to our tech magicians, Opus and Tom. I want to give them an Academy Award. And to all the volunteers who have contributed to making the service possible. After the service, we invite you to join us for coffee and refreshments provided by Jenny Matsumoto and Patricia Pocock. And a little special thanks this morning to Clara Beyer for putting together busy bags for our young visitors. If you would like to be part of creating busy bags, please let Clara know. Maybe some adults would like one too. Yeah, Effie. Where's Effie? Not here. Her birthday was this week. Yesterday. Yeah. Let's keep Effie in our hearts. Paul Ben McElwain is a longtime resident of Whidbey Island and a champion for Soundwater stewards. He's with us this morning to read a land acknowledgement.
Greetings and welcome to all gathered here together in good faith, to the seen and unseen, to the 4 directions, to above and below, and to within. Welcome all to be here and hold our time together. Let us take a moment to acknowledge this larger place where we now gather, the southeast corner of the San Juan Rock Islands, centered in the surrounding Salish Sea, the inner ocean heart of Cascadia. And in this moment, let us also acknowledge all the kinds of beings of this greater place, the being kinds of rock, water, and weather, the place kinds of the planted flyers, swimmers, and travelers, and especially the person kinds who have lived here for uncounted millennia in partnership with this place before we people came from over the eastern seas to make this place our own. But let us also remember and acknowledge that we are a people not all of the same mind. Some would change this place to fit their own ways. Some would change their own ways to fit this place. There are those of us who meet and greet our place with curiosity, learning, adaptation, and respect. Let us see and acknowledge that we gathered here are those people. Let us know and hold one another. Let us, with eyes to see and hearts to care, work together towards our final arrival in this place, when once again all the rivers run free to the shores of clean water, free to flood the estuaries of abundance. For all our relations and for our children's children's children, may it become so.
Thank you, Paul Ben. Beautiful. Our opening words this morning come from my new favorite book by John O'Donohue. It's called Blessing Our World Now. Sometimes when we look out, the world seems so dark. War, violence, hunger, and misery seem to abound. This makes us anxious and helpless. What can I do in my private little corner of life that could have any effect on the march of world events? The usual answer is nothing. We then decide to do what we can for our own and leave the great events to their domain. Thus, we opt out and join the largest majority in the world, those who acquiesce. Believing ourselves to be helpless, we hand over all our powers to forces and systems outside us that then act in our names. They go on to put their beliefs into action, and ironically, these actions are often sinister and destructive. We live in times when the call to full and critically aware citizenship could not be more urgent. We need to rediscover the careless courage, yet devastating simplicity of the little girl who, in the middle of the numbed multitude, in naive Socratic fashion, blurts out, "But the emperor has no clothes." When spoken, the word of truth can bring down citadels of falsity. Before we transition to our prelude, let us pause to acknowledge that our congregation does not acquiesce. We show up, holding our banner high in marches, actively engaging in our community, and supporting each other in so many ways. And Effie just arrived. Ready? Ready? Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear
Happy,
Happy
birthday.
Beautiful timing. Glad you made it, Effie. Okay, we have a slide to go with this. A slide, the dedicated offering slide. Yeah. It's coming, it's coming. Look what we did in 2025. Together, through our monthly dedicated offerings, we contributed $7,700, the newest version, $7,749 in support of 10 organizations in our community, 2 UUA groups, one for churches aiding those affected by the fires in Los Angeles, and one global organization, Outright International. At the risk of sounding like an evangelist, I'm humbled to be part of this Unitarian Universalist congregation where our actions speak louder than words and our commitment to justice shines brightly. Now to the prelude.
Greetings this morning. My name is Walt Cannon, and now we will light the chalice. We light the chalice this morning with a story from the Buddha. One day while the Buddha was living amongst the Sakyans, his longtime attendant, Ananda, went to him and remarked upon the warmth and welcome of that community. It seems to me that half of the spiritual life is good friendship, good companionship, and good comradeship. The Buddha responded, "Not so, Ananda, not so. It is the whole of the spiritual life."
Thank you, Walt and Deb. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Have you recovered from Thanksgiving? And here you are. So nice to be with you here today. I hope that your Thanksgiving experiences this week were filled with the grace of generous sharing, the joy of community, a feast for the senses, with fragrances, flavors, and familiar rituals of story and remembrance. The tradition of celebrating the abundance of the autumn harvest is meant to nurture and sustain us as the days grow shorter, the skies darken, and we prepare for the journey of this waiting winter. It is good to be together in this warm and friendly space of refuge, purpose, intention, and support. This is why we worship now together. I invite you to rise in body and spirit to read our affirmation, followed by hymn number 188, Come, Come, wherever you are. We will sing the first round all together, then break into parts for the repeats. Our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is its practice. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. I invite you to settle into your seat, rocking a bit forward and back, from side to side, and noticing how the body stretches and relaxes in finding its best place. Notice how you are connected through your chair to the floor, from the floor to the earth. Imagining a golden cord threaded through the base of your spine to the crown of your head, allowing it for a moment to pull the body gently taller and then relaxing just a bit so you can feel your spine curving, the vertebrae stacking, the shoulders relaxing, the neck centering the head, ears over the shoulders, casting the eyes down comfortably or resting, hands resting in your lap or along your thighs, noticing the chair pushing up on your seat, fully supporting you. As the room quiets, noticing the small sounds. Children's footsteps, sounds of joy and life. The breath falling and rising freely, without the body needing to have your direction to fill the lungs, circulate the blood, take the next breath. Noticing the sensations within you and around you. Breathing together with others in the room. Consider your relationship with yourself. Offering yourself simple wishes of well-being. Saying softly, "May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be well. May I be happy." Bringing to mind a person who is dear to you, whether present here or held in your heart. Recall as much detail about them as you can, the size and shape of them, the look of their hands, their face, eyes, smile, wishing them well, saying softly to yourself, "May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be well. May you be happy." Bringing to mind now someone you have noticed but do not know well, someone who is neutral to you, giving rise to neither very positive feelings or animosity. This might be someone here in the room, someone you saw recently while out and about, maybe a worker you've noticed at the grocery store. Bring them to mind now in as much detail as you can. The size and shape of them, their clothing, their face, hair, expression. And now wishing them well, saying softly to yourself, May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be well. May you be happy. And now, bringing to mind someone who is challenging for you, someone you know, whether currently or in the past, someone you know by reputation from afar, someone who is difficult. Offer them the same phrases of well wishes, and if you cannot bring yourself to do so, imagine them as a baby, completely dependent on others for their food, safety, and comfort. Wish this person well, saying softly to yourself, "May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be well. May you be happy. Through all these repetitions of loving kindness, throughout this room, imagine these wishes for well-being expanding and expanding, filling the room, filling the building, and overflowing through the walls, through the parking lots, through the trees, along the roads, across the acres and miles of homes, farms, businesses, lakes, ponds, meadows, salt water, on and on to more distant seas, shores, lands, cities, countries, and the entire world, spreading through skies and space, spreading everywhere there are people, creatures, birds, fishes, even down into the earth, to insects, worms, elements, bacteria, gases, all manner of things in existence, saying softly to yourself, "May all be filled with loving kindness. May all be peaceful and at ease. May all be well. May all be happy." May it be so, and may we be the instruments from which this arises and comes to pass. Thank you to all our musicians. You are indeed fortunate. The practice of generosity in the Buddhist tradition is known as dana. Just as Buddhists do, we Unitarian Universalists recognize that gratitude, compassion, and generosity are inextricably bound. Grateful for the gifts we have received to sustain our lives, we are moved by empathy and compassion to care for the lives of others, giving freely without expectation of anything in return. Giving becomes a spiritual practice when it is carried out with intention and regular action. With practice, giving opens the heart, cultivates a peaceful and generous spirit, liberates us from ego and self-centered concern, and benefits all beings. Our offering today is invited to support the many ministries of this church, which in turn help to sustain each of us in caring for our interconnected communities in many ways. May our commitment to acts of continuing generosity in each moment be endlessly expanded for the good of all and the health of our planet. If you are a guest here today, we are honored by your presence. You are welcome to let the basket pass, taking with you our wishes for your well-being. So, it's great to be with you today. I recognize some of the folks here, and it's wonderful to meet so many more of you. I'd like to share a little bit of my journey as a UU and a Buddhist, and to tell you a little bit about some of the things I've learned. I found my way to Unitarian Universalism by way of National Public Radio, and specifically through their reporter, Margot Adler. She was being interviewed for some reason, and I was driving from Seattle to California's Eastern Sierra, where we were moving in 1990. Margot commented matter-of-factly that she was a Unitarian Universalist, having been attracted because she was Wiccan. And the UUs welcomed people who practiced earth-based spirituality and a wide range of other religious persuasions, including humanism and none of the above. Intrigued, I resolved that when we got settled, I would investigate where the nearest UU congregation might be, and that turned out to be Reno, Nevada, about a 3-hour drive one way. So I put that exploration on hold, but when we moved back to the Seattle area about 7 years later, virtually the first thing I did when we got our phone book, a real thing back then, was to look up the closest UU church. And that's how I found the Woodinville UU church, and I started attending the next Sunday. Eventually, while the congregation was in the process of building our own first church home, I got involved in leading a book group on religion and spirituality. During the course of reading one of the books, one that I certainly would not have chosen myself, and that made my humanist eyes roll, I experienced an unexpected, sudden, and significant spiritual opening. I didn't know what to do with that once I determined that I was not having a stroke or some other medical concern. So I decided that whatever it was, I could not ignore it. An elder in the church who was active in the book group listened to my description of what I'd experienced and told me simply, "That sounds like Zen. You had better learn to meditate." And in the church bulletin the next day was an announcement that the minister would lead a short course in meditation starting the following weekend. When I asked him about it, he loaned me 2 books on Zen and invited me to show up. I started reading everything I could find on Zen Buddhism, began a serious meditation practice based on the minister's class and instructions from the books I'd read. I quit my job so that I could be available to whatever was meant to be. I started doing management consulting for nonprofits, and somehow we made ends meet. I began volunteering in the church office and opened up a piece of mail from Great Vow Zen Monastery outside of Portland, announcing that they were going to host a weekend retreat on Zen and Unitarian Universalism, led by the Reverend James Ford, a UU minister and a Zen priest. So of course I signed up that very day. That led to more retreats at the monastery, becoming a formal student there, and eventually taking a 3-year course with them to become a community Zen leader. A new minister arrived at the Woodinville UU Church, who coincidentally I had recently met at Great Vow Zen Monastery on a retreat. He started a Zen group at the church, and when he moved on, I kept the group going. In the meantime, I had applied and had been hired to be the Unitarian Universalist Association's district executive here in the Pacific Northwest. Unusual, since most of these positions were held by ordained UU ministers. It was a great job for me, and when I left that position 12 years later, I was invited by University Unitarian Church in Seattle to join them on staff and become their director of ministries, a new position that we cooked up together. I retired from the church last June and remained affiliated now as a community covenanted minister, leading the thriving Zen group there. And by the way, I understand that John Lewoppa, who preceded me in retirement from that church and is now Minister Emeritus of UUC, will be with you next Sunday. So you are in for a treat, and please give him my best. Around the same time I began working at UUC, I began studying formally with the Reverend James Ford, now retired from UU ministry full-time, and a well-regarded Zen Roshi, author, and blogger. James ordained me as a Zen priest in 2019 and gave me initial Dharma transmission 3 years later. So this crazy path to Zen practice that I've stumbled along has led me to adopt as a personal motto, leap and the net will appear. This is attributed to naturalist John Burroughs and sometimes to Julia Cameron, who at least popularized that saying by including it in her 1992 book, The Artist's Way. You may know this book here, some of you. Many UU congregations have taught it as an adult program over the years. My experience of Zen as a practitioner, leader, and now teacher is inextricably tied to my identity as a UU. Both have been instructive and deeply enriching for me, and most importantly, both have solidified my commitment to serve my community. It is a life commitment for me. I have long wished that Unitarian Universalism could have a path to simply nurture and recognize the spiritual development of our lay leaders over multiple years of engaged mentorship and spiritual direction, rather than the only model that I'm aware of that has offered a single week-long classroom-based leadership school. Even that model is no longer widely available, as while it was deeply effective for those who attended, it was very narrow in its reach. UU tends to be resistant to structures that might be perceived to elevate or privilege individual lay leaders over time. Those who would be well served in a multi-year lay-oriented mentorship are instead pointed to clergy ordination or various credentialing programs for religious professionals, and this can be a good fit for some, even a calling, but it's also even more narrowly focused, as well as inaccessible to many due to the cost and time requirements. As a result, UU tends to be at best a helpful starting place or way station for most spiritual explorers. That's not a bad thing, but it does mean that UUs looking for spiritual deepening and formation often leave UU for another tradition. When I began practicing Zen in earnest, I found a depth and a grounding that UU didn't offer me. But I also realized that UU kept me relevantly tied to culture, community, and activism. I used to say that Unitarian Universalism was my religion, and Zen was my spiritual practice. Now, there is no separation in two paths. There is just this practice of Zen and UU for these times, walking the intimate way, as James Ford calls the path of emptiness, or more accessibly, boundlessness. For me, Zen koan study has offered illumination along this path. Engaging these usually short, sometimes rambling, and always irrational teaching stories has helped me learn to unwind certain unhelpful beliefs. That failure is a fatal flaw, that I had to be the one who knows, and that not being able to be present not being able to present a correct answer to my teacher or my student was not only humiliating, but also marked me as unwilling, unworthy. Unitarian Universalism has helped me identify the cultural roots of these deeply ingrained perfectionist beliefs. Zen has helped me move towards three primary correctives: cultivating wisdom as ultimately more helpful than accumulating knowledge, leading with curiosity when facing adversity, uncomfortable change, or entrenched positions, non-dualism to help me release the grip on either-or thinking and open the window to expansive possibilities. I have come to appreciate the critical importance of faith, as insight meditation teacher Sharon Salzberg defines it in her book, Faith, trusting your own deepest experience. Faith, trusting your own deepest experience. I have also come to appreciate the critical danger of being one's single reference, which can lead to delusive certainty. A solid ethical teacher or spiritual director can help check that tendency. The Sangha, a trusted spiritual community of support, is similarly necessary as a kind of peer review. When a leader establishes themselves as the sole savior, seer, decider, or judge, insisting on no checks and balances to their power, there is real danger of abuse and corruption. The same is true of a student who declines outside guidance and support, though not usually on the same world impact, of course. In Buddhism, there is the concept of hungry ghosts who are unable to satisfy their desires, addictions, obsessions, or greed. They are often depicted as having tiny mouths and throats and giant bellies. They can't ever consume enough to ease their hunger and suffering. I was surprised to find a reference to hungry ghosts in Forbes magazine, which identifies itself as a major source of business and financial news and insight. In April 2025, they published a leadership strategies article, Hungry Ghosts Are Busting Government: How Leaders Can Be Ghostbusters. Its author, Dr. Ginny Whitelaw, is even more surprisingly a Forbes correspondent covering Zen leadership and science of resonance. Who knew? Who knew Forbes had something like that? She goes on to note, well, let's see. I don't want to take anything from Dr. Whitelaw just because I didn't know such things exist in the business world, but still her credentials are impressive indeed and wide-ranging. In the article, Dr. Whitelaw points out that President Trump and Elon Musk are demonstrating an insatiable greed for power and its proxy, money. She goes on to note that a never-enough mindset is often promoted or glamorized in leaders, as in there could never be enough ambition, achievement, power, wealth, growth. It can be cherished in the competitive world of business and politics and richly rewarded from the stock market to the ballot box. She warns it also throws systems wildly out of balance as unintended consequences pile up until something breaks. In the case of hungry ghosts who are given power over others, as Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk have had, we've also seen that this extrapolates to an insatiable need for retribution or total destruction of their identified enemies. Zen teaches the wisdom of just enough to satisfy hunger, thirst, rest, income, and other needs. Dr. Whitelaw wonders when we will say enough to hungry ghosts in politics. She cites research that says nonviolent resistance is historically far more successful than its violent cousin, and a surprisingly small percentage of the population is sufficient to reach a tipping point for change, only 3 to 5%, or in terms of the US population, about 12 million ghostbusters is enough. She goes into this further in a later Forbes article, How Leaders Can Be the Signal That Settles the Noise, published in September 2025. Here, Dr. Whitelaw cites the need for all of us to become prepared leaders who can show up with presence that is steady, coherent, and inclusive. Spiritual practice, such as Zen meditation and deepening, can help us build focus, stamina, clarity, and consistency around our priorities and values. Gathering with Sangha, a spiritual community of support like this UU congregation, can help strengthen us in courage, voice, determination, and follow-through. This, too, is important spiritual practice, and guess what? Just like physical fitness, spiritual practice requires actual, regular rehearsal, practice, and carrying on to stretch and bulk up our muscles for responsive, compassionate, nonviolent response. My personal practice of Zen is the exercise of being what is, being with what is. That means facing whatever comes forward with equanimity rather than reactivity. It does not mean giving in to suffering. It's simply noticing what is real and applying response that is similar to the well-known Alcoholics Anonymous prayer, having the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Cultivating this habit is choosing non-suffering. It is an example of exercising agency when times are as they are. I'd like to invite you to join me in a shared reading of the contemporary Zen Buddhist chant, Liberation from All Obstructions, by Hogan Bays, Roshi, and co-abbot of Great Vow Zen Monastery in Clatskanie, Oregon. And the words are magically on the screen. Please join me. In the presence of Sangha, in the light of Dharma, in oneness with Buddha, may my path to complete enlightenment benefit everyone. In this passing moment, karma ripens and all things come to be. I vow to affirm what is. If there's cost, I choose to pay. If there's need, I choose to give. If there's pain, I choose to feel. If there's sorrow, I choose to grieve. When burning, I choose heat. When calm, I choose peace. When starving, I choose hunger. When happy, I choose joy. Whom I encounter, I choose to meet. What I shoulder, I choose to bear. When it's my birth, I choose to live. When it's my death, I choose to die. Where this takes me, I choose to go. Being with what is, I respond to what is. This life is as real as a dream. The one who knows it cannot be found, and truth is not a thing. Therefore, I vow to choose this Dharma entrance gate. May all Buddhas and wise ones help me live this vow. Please rise now in body or in spirit for our closing hymn, number 298, Wake Now My Senses. We'll be doing the first 3 verses.
Receive
As we extinguish the chalice, let us recall the words of the Buddha to his attendant Ananda. Friendship, companionship, and fellowship are the whole of the spiritual life. May we take the flame of this community with us as strength for the journey. Together, may we find the safety to feel, the support to discern, and the courage to act for what is true, just, and merciful.
Thank you all. It has been a joy being with you today. We are the ones we have been waiting for. There are no others. Strengthen yourself for this journey because we have much to do. Individual practice is the whole of the spiritual life, just as community is the whole of the spiritual life. Both and. These are not separate. So may you find comfort and healing in this community, and may you also find here challenge, companionship, and courage to go beyond comfort to calling. Thank you.